Hello, how are you?
All good, all good. It feels like a while since we last spoke.
I know. You've got to change of scenery.
We do have a change of scenery. Yeah, I'm back home now. So yeah, officially now finished my time at Newcastle, which is quite sad. But yeah, did well. I was happy in the end. Got 2-1, so
Oh,
it was all
yeah,
worth
very
it in the
good.
end.
Very good. Successful.
I was happy with it. I
Successful.
was happy with it. You sort of like you just
Yeah.
want to get through, and especially with everything going on with coronavirus, it was just a case of like, right, let's get the grade, let's move on. But yeah, what
Yeah,
about you?
exactly. Yeah, I got first, so obviously that's exciting. Yeah, very good. So I'm happy with that, obviously. It's great, like, um, achievement, but
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it, so it was a bit of an emotional one, I think. I was a bit like overwhelmed. I was saying, like, I went and told my dad, and I was literally a blubbering mess. Like, went down. I was like, like sobbing, and my dad was like, "Is everything okay? What's happened?
Is it
What's happened?
bad?
What's
Is
happened?"
it
And I was
bad?
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." Like, my dad thought something bad had happened, and I was just sobbing like an absolute mess. But yeah, so really good, really happy with it. Obviously, especially under the circumstances. I think, you know, just graduating and getting a good grade is just good, really good. So
Yeah. No, I think you
yeah,
can really happy with that. Well,
yeah.
tell us about your injury.
So yeah, the reason why we've not done this for a few weeks is
Yeah.
because I basically decided to split my foot open essentially. I didn't decide to; it was an accident. But stood on a glass in a nightclub, typical night out injury. Stood on a glass, but instead of it being like a piece of glass, it was literally like half a glass, like literally the dead thick, impaled my foot. I got about 8 stitches, I think, in my foot, um, which then unfortunately got infected. So I was like incapable of walking for 2 weeks. So not great, but I've got a scar to show from it. I've got a cool little
Yes.
scar. Well, I
Can
will
you,
have a cool little scar.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
not
can you
going.
show us the scar? It's probably not that accessible though, is it?
It's not that accessible, and I don't think anybody wants to see the state
No.
of my feet right now because it's still on the road to recovery, so
Okay.
it's not a pretty sight.
Okay.
But maybe when it's like a little more fresh, then maybe. But
But it's better now, and you're able to walk on it a bit better now.
yeah, I'm able to walk, which is good. It's this week really that I've been able to like exercise and do sort of normal stuff, but
Sure.
I think it didn't help the fact that I got stitches and then literally 5 days later I went out 4 days in a row, and because it was a bank
You
holiday
never learn.
weekend
You
over
never
here,
learn.
so I don't think it helped the cause. I only really got myself to blame, so it's one of those. I'm quite accident prone, so you do get that, but
To
hey
be
ho.
fair, it's quite a common thing. I mean, I did it on a night out. I don't know if you see, I had a scar. That was the
Yeah,
start of, I think it was, yeah, the start of my third year.
start of third year, wasn't it? Yeah.
And that was from glass. Exactly similar to you actually, because it was like half a glass um, had
Yours
smashed on
was like the
the floor,
stem
like a stem of a, yeah, exactly. So it was a
of
stem of a
wine
wine
glass.
glass, and I've basically just gone straight down on it and impaled. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
I was
great to
witness to
hear.
that. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't
No.
nice.
But the thing is,
Um,
you have a bit of strength. I don't know about you. I remember I'd had a bit of strength, so I numbed it so much. I was a bit unaware, and I looked up and I was like, "Oh my lord!"
well, I was absolutely mortified because I was in the middle of a nightclub and all the bouncers were like, "You need to elevate your foot." You know, like were trying to help me, but because I was drunk, I was just like, "Oh, ha ha!" Like thought it was
Yeah, yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and people were crowding around me. Like there was so much blood, like so much blood, like for an injury in the foot. Like I mean, I suppose with your foot, because the way that gravity falls, like your blood
Mm,
flows like down,
mm.
but there was just blood everywhere, and I was just absolutely mortified, like as if this has happened, and everybody was just stood around. But you know what? It's a story to tell,
It's a good story to tell.
and now
And
I will be more wary of what is below my feet when I'm on a night out. So,
exactly,
um,
lessons have been learned. Um,
yeah,
so that's why we've not been doing these. But before we start the story, actually, I just wanted to start with a couple of follow-up stories. So from previous stories that we've done in
yeah,
weeks before. So I don't know if you saw this week, but the story on Manchester City and financial fair play, that
uh-huh.
had an interesting development. So they were initially banned from Europe or playing in European football for 2 years.
3 years, yeah.
Um, because of breach of financial regulations. But they then appealed their decision in a court called like the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and now they've won their appeal, which basically means that their ban has been scrapped. So that's good news for them, for sure.
Yeah, but you know what? I was quite surprised. I mean, I wasn't surprised. It was inevitable that it was going to get the appeal would, it would be overturned. But I was quite surprised that they got off so light. I thought maybe they'd get a 1-year ban, or maybe it would, they'd get a little slap on the wrist and they'd get some form of punishment. And I know that they've got a fine, but other than that, I feel like they've got off quite lightly.
I think they have. No, it's a big win for them. Also just shows you how sort of it looks really bad on UEFA, because they're like, have to sort of like, for them to go out there and obviously like chuck all these accusations out there, and then for there to be banned to literally just be scrapped. It looks pretty bad on them, and that's happening. It's quite a common thing. They'll UEFA will make a decision. They will basically ban a team from Europe. It's happened with other teams around Europe. And then the team will go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and the whole thing will basically be overruled. So it makes you just look like a laughing stock as well, I think.
Yeah, because it's like, well, why bring it up in the first place then if it's just never going to get, they're not going to be held accountable and it's not going to actually be held up? Then what's the point in ever even sort of saying, excuse me, you've done this, and, ever bringing it up in the first place? So, I think obviously as well, I think for us as well, it's like, Manchester United are like fighting for top 4 space. So I think
done with that 5th.
Yeah, we could have done with 5th being safe, but hopefully we'll be fine. We'll see.
Very nice. So the next story, I'm just gonna demonstrate first, if you can get the vibe. Also,
no tea towel today.
No tea towel. We've gone a step up. So I've given up on trying to make one, and I've gone out and bought 3 of these.
You know what? I think that's really snazzy. I'm quite into that.
Gone for the Adidas as well. Obviously,
and you can hear so clear. I always thought, I don't know why, I assumed that underneath a mask you would be incoherent, but you're not.
Not the glasses. Yeah, no, I see what you mean. You can still speak, no, for sure. I mean, see the glasses. The only issue I was saying to you earlier is that if you're breathing quite heavily on a hot day, it will make your glasses fog up, which is a bit annoying.
Steam up, yeah. But yeah, crazy that they've implemented the rules in the UK to sort of, make them compulsory in shops, because obviously it was, as we spoke about a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago now, it was on public transport, and now it's in shops. But I feel like getting ID'd with a mask on, anybody, like, how are you going to know who's underneath that mask?
That's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought about that. So you're
that's
saying
what
if you go into a shop and you're, say, buying something that requires you to be over the age of 18, how are you going to get ID'd?
Yeah, and I saw, it was because I saw a lady on TikTok, and she had said, like, I've just been ID'd for alcohol, and I gave the man my ID, and this is what I looked like. And she turned the camera around, and she had a face mask on and big sunglasses because it was a hot day. She was an American lady. So she was like, and she obviously got served, whatever it was, alcohol, I think it was. She was like, how have I been served? I'm like, you can't see any of my face. You can see my hair, and that is it. And she got served.
Especially with like guys as well. And if you're like clean, if you've not got any like facial hair, that's always like a big telling sign. If you've got that covered up, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, they can't ask you to then take away the face mask to be ID'd, because that's when you're like closest to the shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Point.
So I think a lot of 16, 17-year-olds are going to be getting served over the next, however.
So anyway, you're right. That's going to be compulsory from the 24th of July in shops, and you'll face £100 fine if you don't do that. It is a interesting one, because the science has changed dramatically on that. And it seems like it could even be extended further. So there's talk it could be extended into offices. My sister's a teacher, and she was talking about it being into schools, so children having to wear face masks, and she's probably going to have to wear a visor.
Wow.
And that's them obviously anticipating what the guidance is going to be in the future, but you wouldn't be surprised if it was then extended into even more things. So
Yeah, I feel like fashion's going to change now, isn't it? Like with regards to face masks, there's going to be that new. I mean, if this is an ongoing thing for a significant period of time, which it's likely to be, then fashion's going to change, like to sort of suit the trend, and well, not the trend, but to suit it. And all these snazzy face masks that we looked at the other week, face coverings, they're all going to be coming into fashion. Like you've got your Adidas one, do you know what I mean? It's like everything's going to change.
No, you're right.
Also,
I succumbed to because I was like, I'll just make one from home. Like, I'm not going to buy these fashion face masks. I'm just going to make mine from home, like make it cost efficient, all that stuff. And I looked on Adidas. I was like, I quite like that. Like, it's a face mask, but if I'm going to have to wear it, I at least want to look like relatively good in it. So I was like,
yeah,
I like that one.
I'll have to invest, I think, because obviously when I go back
exactly.
about 2 months time, I mean, that's probably still going to be the rules in place, so I'm going to have to invest. But I feel like I'm going to spend less money on makeup because I'll be covering my face, so I feel like just eyebrows and mascara, that's all I need. No foundation, like none of this, so be fine, we'll be good.
Exactly. And then the final thing to follow up on, that was our story from the last podcast we did, and that was on Rashford and the free school meals story. And this week, really good news. So he was awarded an honorary doctorate from Manchester University for the campaign he's been doing on child poverty and free school meals.
Yeah.
So, and that he's the youngest person apparently to receive that award from Manchester University.
Wow. So I love that.
That's really
he's a good kid. I really, really respect Rashford. I think, he's quite new to the game as well. I think, he's not been, around. I mean, obviously he's so young, but he's, in his short career so far, he has done a lot, successfully as a footballer, but also obviously all this stuff. So
exactly. So he is now Dr. Marcus Rashford.
I love that.
And he's also playing really well for us, for Man United at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing really well.
Pitch is winning.
Yeah, he's a good kid. Good boy.
Yes. So that's a little catch up. But what is the story for this week?
So this week we are talking about a story that broke during the week to do with Russia and spying for COVID-19 vaccine. So essentially, reports this week have claimed that Russian spies are targeting UK, US and Canadian organisations that are trying to develop a vaccine for coronavirus. So the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre, the NCSC, has said that they believe that hackers were almost definitely operating as part of Russian intelligence services. So the NCSC hasn't specified which organisations were targeted in this cyber hack, and they haven't actually revealed whether any information was in fact stolen. But they said that there's been a security breach, a cyber sort of security breach, but they have ensured that research into the vaccine has not been hindered. So it's not been detrimental, but there has obviously been a clear breach of security. So a joint warning was published by a group of international security services. So as I said, the UK's NCSC, and then the Canadian Communication Security Establishment, the US Department for Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, and the US National Security Agency. So a lot of big sort of international services sort of warning about this hack and sort of saying to organisations, you need to be more careful and, look out for these sort of breaches of security. So they've pointed the finger at Russia, these organisations have pointed the finger at Russia, but the Kremlin have strongly denied responsibility for these cyber attacks. However, experts do claim that there is significant reason to believe that Russia was in fact responsible. So a lady called Emily Taylor from the Chatham House think tank has claimed that the received wisdom is that cyberspace attribution is difficult but not impossible. But then she went on to explain that the group that they think is responsible for these cyber attacks has in the past been implicated in cyber attacks and have left a sort of trail. So there's fairly good links between this organisation and Russia. So essentially that's why they've assumed it is Russia responsible and have sort of pointed the finger at them.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you might be wondering, how have these hacks sort of taken place? And essentially, the respective agencies, in the UK, the US, and Canada, have said that hackers have managed to sort of exploit software flaws which have allowed them to access sort of vulnerable computer systems. And obviously really high-tech sort of malware has been used to upload and download files from infected machines, but also like spear phishing, so sort of scams used to sort of trick people into handing over their information have been used as well. So it's not just a case of hacking into a computer system and sort of bugging it and doing all of that. They've sort of scammed individual people, and they've it's very, very high tech and very complicated. I don't know anything about computers and technology, so I mean, if you asked me to hack someone's computer, I'd be
I'd be like, what's the passcode?
Yeah, but yeah, they've used spear phishing as well, so sort of tricked people into handing over their information, so sort of individual people and individual cases, which is how a lot of sort of scamming is done, I think, from what I've heard. I mean, I know some of my friends have been silly enough to hand over their information, and you get these like scam links, and you just like log in, or you've won a free prize, and you just
no, not them. Have they clicked on that?
Yeah, so it's easily done, I think, but obviously you would like to think that people working for big organizations where they've got very important information, they might be a bit more careful, but I suppose it's quite easily done, I think. Obviously if it's a high-tech a well-organized group who have got all these sort of scams at their disposal, they probably worked quite hard and been able to sort of obviously have been able to sort of trick people into handing over that information. So you might wonder as well, who is this group that are supposedly responsible? And the NCSC have accused a group called APT29, but this group is more commonly known as either the Dukes or Cozy Bear. So the NCSC has said that they
cuddly, doesn't it?
Cozy Bear just sounds really like cute and cuddly, but obviously not.
Be a bit like that, just to throw you off a bit. Like,
yeah. Imagine like you just get an email like, "Hi, I'm Cozy Bear. Hand me
Okay. Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Quite a good trick, to be fair. If you're giving yourself that name, but I don't know if they've been given that name or whether they've named themselves that. I don't know. But yeah, so the NCSC have said that they are more than 95% sure that this group is part of Russia's intelligence services. And this group have been, historically have sort of had quite big hacks and scams to their names. So they previously were supposedly involved in the US Democratic National Committee hack in the 2016 presidential election, as well as an attack on Norway's Labour Party, Defence and Foreign Ministries, and National Security Services. So that this isn't just like a one-off. This group are very well organised and have got history of hacking big organisations and countries and political groups. So but as well, sort of why would Russia want to steal vaccine information? I suppose but I guess obviously, as we know, coronavirus pandemic has affected like the whole world and everything's gone crazy with it. And global cases have now sort of surpassed 13.5 million, and deaths exceeded 500,000. So the race is sort of on, I suppose, to be the first nation to find this vaccine. Nobody's found a vaccine yet, and it's sort of the equivalent, I suppose, to like the space race and all of that. I suppose it is essentially the same as it's the vaccine race now, I suppose, because whichever country does or organization does find the vaccine first is going to gain like huge political clout on a global stage. So whichever country and whichever organization do it are going to have a huge amount of geopolitical success, and there'll be huge economic and political advantages, I'm assuming anyway, and domestic pharmaceutical companies will have advantages as well. So I suppose the race is on. So I suppose, every country wants to be the one that's going to find this vaccine. And John Deemers, the Assistant Attorney General for National Security, said earlier in the year, commented on this idea that, whatever countries or companies' research lab is first to produce that vaccine is going to have a significant geopolitical success story. So it's going to do wonders for whichever country it is. So the World Health Organization have reported that over 160 vaccines are being developed around the world, and 23 have begun human trials. And quite a few of these 23 ones that have gone into human trials have been developed by groups and companies in Britain, the US and Canada. So I suppose from the Russian perspective, they are the targets, they're the ones with the most information and the most sort of knowledge. So they would be the main reason, the main country you would want to get this information from, I suppose. Yeah. And Russia are themselves trying to develop vaccines. A lot of developed countries are. So they've supposedly been developing 26 vaccines that I've read, but only 2 are currently undergoing clinical trials. But many have commented that although they are making legitimate efforts to try and develop a vaccine, it is likely that the country is sort of cheating by spying and hacking on other countries. So this story has come about 2 months after the FBI, the US FBI and Department for Homeland Security in America warned that China was targeting COVID-19 research, and sort of warned organizations to sort of take steps to protect their systems. This a man called John Hultquist, who is the director of intelligence analysis for the cybersecurity firm called FireEye, did remark that the biggest thing we need to bear in mind is that Russia's not alone in this. It's not just Russia that's doing this. Other countries are also trying to steal information, and it's not just Russia we should be pointing our finger at or protecting ourselves from, but in this specific scenario it has supposedly been Russia. So he commented by saying, we've seen Iranian and Chinese actors targeting pharmaceutical companies and research organizations involved in the COVID-19 response. This is an existential threat to almost every government on earth, and we can expect that tremendous resources have been diverted from other tasks to focus on this virus. Big sort of quite interesting story, I think. Fascinating because, as this man said, Russia's not alone in it, and other countries all around the world are racing to find a vaccine and to be the first in the world to sort of discover, and to cure the virus, I suppose. So, I mean, I'm not condoning it, but you can't really blame them either, I suppose, in a way, they're trying to gain, I mean, it's wrong what they're doing, but it's understandable, I suppose, at the end of the day. But
yeah, I know, and I see that, but I think there'll be some that would say, actually, like, you should, this seems to be more like as you're saying, like geopolitics, and you shouldn't be playing geopolitics with something that actually is going to benefit the whole world.
The whole world, yeah. And I agree. I think, it should be a worldwide effort, and it shouldn't be a competition. It's different with regards to, as we said before, like the space race and all of that. That was like, what are we really benefiting from going into space, I suppose? I mean, it's just knowledge and information, whereas this is like affecting everybody's lives, this pandemic. People are dying left, all around the world, and it shouldn't be for sort of political clout to sort of find the vaccine. It should be for the sort of general cause and to help the world. But
that's how it is. I think it's the idea of having, like, with anything, having a monopoly over anything. It gives you power, and as you're saying, it gives you leverage and economic advantages and all these things, having the monopoly over the entire world. And I think that's definitely would have been Russia's motivations for sure.
100%.
Are true. So I've been looking at some of the reaction. So first off was from Dominic Raab has been responding to the story, Foreign Secretary of the UK, and he said it's completely unacceptable that the Russian intelligence services are targeting those working to combat the coronavirus pandemic. Whilst others pursue their selfish interests with reckless behaviour, the UK and its allies are getting on with the hard work of finding a vaccine and protecting global health. And on Thursday, the UK government also said that Russians had almost certainly sought to interfere in the 29 general election through illicitly acquired documents. So these were basically papers that they got hold of US-UK trade talks, and then basically put them onto the internet for everyone to see.
Yeah.
So it's not just the hacking into vaccines. This is, and as I'll talk about later on, it's a much bigger story of Russian interference. Here we're talking about the general election in 2019, and there's actually a big report coming out tomorrow that's been coming for some time, and that's going to look at Russian interference in the Brexit referendum and the 2017 general election. And so a lot of people are interested to see what that's going to contain.
Yeah.
But yeah, much bigger story. And I think for a while, the UK has been, let's say, very skeptical about some of the activities Russia have been up to. And this vaccine story is the latest of that. But Russia have been hitting back at some of these accusations. Dmitry Peskov, one of Putin's spokesmen, claiming that we do not have the information about who hacked into the pharmaceutical companies and research centers in Great Britain. We can say one thing: Russia has nothing to do with all these attempts. And then Andrei Kellin, today on the Andrew Marr show, and he's the Russian ambassador to the UK, denying all knowledge of the groups accused of the hacking, so Cozy Bear and the Dukes that we were talking about earlier. And he points to actually Russian cooperation in vaccine development. So he's saying that Russian pharmaceutical companies have actually entered partnership with British pharmaceutical companies like AstraZeneca to help manufacture the vaccine. So he's saying rather than spying, rather than hacking, Russia has actively been trying to make the situation better, trying to cooperate with the British. And he makes a pretty bold claim. He also came back today and said that Russia's found evidence of cyber attacks originating from the UK in recent constitutional referendum in Russia. So he's saying, actually, it's not, yes, you can accuse us of meddling in your elections, but we can also throw that back at you. And we found of UK interference in Russia.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me though either. You know, I think it's all well and good, you know, the West, you know, the UK and US and whoever accusing other countries of spy, you know, China and Russia and all of this. But realistically, I mean, I don't know anything about, you know, this situation really, but at the same time, I would assume that the Western world is spying on other countries. Every country has spies, and every country has, you know, a reason to sort of try and find out information from other countries. So I think it's all well and good pointing a finger at another country, but realistically, you know, they probably do need to take a little look in their own little back garden, I suppose, because I'm sure they're not innocent. But
no, I think we can always get caught up in, like, always the media we consume here are always going to be Western or basically more targeted towards, you know, UK, US, and more natural allies. So it's always going to be framed in a way. But I'm sure you could say the same in Russia. The coverage of the UK could be very different. It's about, for sure, no country I don't think is completely innocent. But
no, 100%.
You can definitely make a case. I mean, looking, as I said, we'll look further down at some of the things Russia's been up to, and you can definitely make a case against them for some pretty shocking things. But I've been looking at social media as well. So the reaction on there, actually quite interesting, because I thought you'd go on there and see lots of people with the government on there saying completely ridiculous or completely unacceptable what Russia doing. And actually quite surprised, because a lot of people on there saying that actually that hacking shouldn't be necessary and that we should be sharing the information around vaccine development with countries like Russia, because it is a global pandemic and therefore a global needed. So actually saying, you know, Britain are at fault in some ways because there shouldn't be the secrecy around how vaccines are being developed. And I was interested by that. And, you know, it's just, they're saying the same with China, should be sharing information with China. But I don't know about you, I'm not surprised that they've kept it far more secretive because of Russia's track record. Essentially, they just don't trust them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's hard, you know, once bitten, twice shy, as they say. You know, you're not going to want to share information and then, you know, with a country that you don't think you can trust and that's going to try and sort of one-up you and, you know, beat you to the chase, I suppose. But at the same time, I agree in the sense that this is a global issue, and
Sure.
we should all be you're getting glasses or steamed up there. This is a global issue, and we should all be working together to try and solve the issue. But I suppose if Russia has got a bad track record, which it seems to have, we need to be careful. So
it's a bit like having a friend who you keep catching sort of spying on you and listening in your conversations.
Yeah, like a friend that you can't really trust.
Your personal details with them, are you? You sort of have that trust.
Yeah, I suppose that is the case. With certain people as well. You've got to be careful what you tell them. The people who you can and can't trust, and even if you're acquainted with somebody, doesn't mean that you're going to be sharing every detail of your personal life with them, because you don't know who they're going to be telling and what they're going to be doing with that information. So
exactly. I just thought I'd give a bit of a wider context, because this is obviously talk about Russian interference in vaccines, and we also talked about elections. But this has been going on. Obviously, UK-Russian relations have been pretty bad for some time now, because of another number of different factors. So I'm just going to quickly do like a little timeline. So we're going to start off actually in 2006. And this was, I chose this year because this was when the poisoning of an ex-Russian agent, Alexander Litvinenko, poisoned by, what the UK think was Russia in London. And he was basically a ex-Russian agent who had been disloyal and critical of the Kremlin.
right.
So the argument is that Russia, similar to, do you remember the Salisbury poisonings in 2018?
Yeah.
Similar kind of case to that. The argument is that ordered by Putin, he was poisoned in London, and that led to the expelling of 4 Russian diplomats, and also led to Russia expelling 4 British diplomats. That was in 2006. In 2014, you've got an example of quite aggressive foreign policy from Russia. So Russia, when they annexed Crimea, I don't know if you remember hearing about this story. So Crimea basically belongs to Ukraine, but it's located near Russia. It used to be part of Russia, now part of Ukraine, and it depends. It sort of enjoys autonomy from Russia. But Russia annexed, basically tried to take over Crimea in 2014. Britain responded with sanctions on Russia, and joint with the US and EU, and suspend all military cooperation with Russia.
Yeah.
So that was an example of kind of aggressive foreign policy in 2014. Then in 2016, 17, 19, there's the arguments, accusations of interferences in the Brexit referendum and general elections. So you've got electoral meddling there. And then 2018, as I was talking about earlier, the poisoning of Sergei and Yulia Skripal in Salisbury. And again, Britain hold Russia responsible. These were ex-Russian citizens. Sergei Skripal actually was a spy working for the British in Russia. But Putin basically sees him as a traitor. And Britain accused Russia of killing them. Both of them didn't die. There was one from a local woman.
Yeah, I remember that story. It was a series on BBC. I think, is it BBC?
Yeah. Really good. I think it's poisoning.
I need to watch it. Yeah, my mum and sister watched it, but I didn't get invited to that watch, so they watched it without me.
Why is that? About that one. Did they, with like Abby come downstairs and you just like, No,
I think it was just that they started watching it, and then I was like, why did you start watching this without me? That's so rude. But it's fine. One of those.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I'm definitely keen to watch that because it's very interesting. And I think, as you said, the relationship between Britain and Russia has been complicated, to say the least, for a long time. So I think this story is just sort of another, nail in the coffin, I suppose.
I think it's trust. I think trust is the big word here. I think the UK no longer trust Russia. They no longer trust Putin. And it's an awkward one, really. But it's the same sort of kind of theme to China, because you've got obviously Brexit's happening. There's a chance now to align themselves with a whole new group of countries,
Yeah.
forge new relationships. But and Russia and China, no doubt, are big economic powers and potential trade partners. But it's that fine line between engagement with trade, which in an ideal world you'd want to do, but also actually standing up and speaking out for abuses of human rights and interference in elections and all these things. So Britain are going to have to really tread a quite careful path, and I think they're sort of feeling their way through that path at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, China as well. I don't know if you've seen the Huawei story.
Yes, I have.
Well,
very interesting, very complicated story, but interesting to say the least.
No, it is. But again, I think Britain actually sort of taking quite a strong stance now against countries like China and Russia, and making quite big statements. So, no, you're right. But Russia, the relations have been quite frosty for some time. And I wanted just to get up a couple clips to show you. This was Theresa May meeting Putin at the G20 last year. And I think by this handshake, you basically tells you all you need to know. This was their meeting a year after the Salisbury poisonings as well.
Right.
The first time they'd met since. And yeah, just have a look at this.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah.
That's what you call cold, I think.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's not nice.
Not welcome. That is not well. I'm gonna also draw that up against Putin meeting Trump as a little bit of a contrast. So we're gonna go back onto here. Sorry. How do I move this down? So this was Putin meeting Trump. Oh, have a look at this. Not so frosty. Quite welcome. I love the handshake as well.
Trump. Interesting.
It still looks quite awkward, but certainly more warm.
I would love, I was thinking about this, with this story and with hacking, who would you love to be a fly on the wall in their conversations and their life? And I suppose politically, I would just love to hear what Trump talks about with his advisors, and some of the stuff he does and some of the things he says is just so outrageous, and I would just be so fascinated to to hear what goes through his head and what he brainstorms and what he comes out with. I think it would be very interesting. But
no, I agree. You can. There's been a couple of books from ex-advisors or ex-members of the cabinet who have basically been sacked, and then they've come out, written books about Trump and things like that. But he just sounds like an absolute nightmare. He sounds like I was watching actually. BBC did a sort of program on. I don't know if you saw it on Trump and Twitter. I think it's called something like Trump's Tweets or something. I can't remember what it's called now, but. And it had an interview with his ex-communication advisor,
right.
or head of communications at the White House. And he was basically saying his job was a nightmare because he'd be prepared to do a press conference or a briefing, and then Trump on his own would put a tweet out that would completely throw him off guard. He wouldn't actually consult him about the tweet, and then he'd have journalists asking him about Trump's tweets, and he had no idea to even put them out. So he's completely caught off guard from it, and it just sounds like that.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a loose cannon, isn't he? He just does what he wants. But I would definitely be intrigued if I was offered the opportunity anyway to sit in a room and just eavesdrop on conversation with him and his people. Then I would definitely take it up. I think it would be very, very fascinating.
I think Trump and Putin.
But it would also probably be quite terrifying, because I think if he comes out with all the outrageous stuff that he, publicly says, what does he say in private? And to think that he's supposedly the leader of the free world and all of that. It's quite
thinking about. Right, I've got a quiz from you.
Hmm.
I was struggling this week because I was wondering what theme to go off. Initially, I was
Right.
thinking, do I go off the hacking theme
Right.
or do I go off? And I was like, should I don't know, do a sort of phone-based game? I don't know. But anyway, I've gone off Russia. So it's going to be
Okay.
a Russian-based quiz. Have you
Okay.
done any quizzes recently? Or are they now finished for you?
No, I've not done a quiz in ages. I've not done one in a
No.
while. Um,
Right.
quiz time of my life has definitely ended, I think. Um,
Okay.
those Zoom
And you
quizzes, that period of
uh,
life when everybody was doing Zoom quizzes.
yeah. I'm going to go. Yeah. So got the quiz up here. Quite a simple one. ABC. You know how it rolls. Okay, cool.
Hmm.
Um, Russian based. So question one. Which drink is just as popular as vodka in Russia? So vodka being the obvious one. So I thought, well, what's the drink that's just as popular? Is it whiskey, tea, or coffee?
Um, I'm gonna go for tea. It's just a
Bingo.
guess.
It's tea. The answer is tea.
I'm
Um,
just thinking Russia's
whiskey.
climate,
So,
she's quite
yeah,
cold.
quite cold. No, I thought that. No, tea is massive in Russia. I used to go to
Really?
school with someone from Russia, and he always used to go about the tea in Russia. I think they're more. I think it's more herbal teas as well.
Yeah,
That sort of vibe.
yeah. I'm
So
not a
yeah,
tea drinker, but
tea and vodka. Hopefully not together though.
Mm.
It'll be an interesting combo. Number two. Right, this is you're gonna have to bear with me on this one. This is a bit of a weird question, but anyway, if you're invited to a Russian colleague's home, which of the following should you not take with you? Okay, do you get that?
Right. Yep.
Should you not take with you?
Okay.
So, is it a box of chocolates, an odd number of flowers, or an even number of flowers?
I'm just gonna hazard a guess and say an odd number of flowers.
Can you give me the rationale for that?
Bad luck? I don't know.
Not to be
I've
fair,
n-
you're not far wrong. The answer actually is an even number of flowers.
right.
Um, and this is because it's associated with funerals, apparently. So if you go to a
Okay.
funeral, you will give whoever is receiving it an even number of flowers.
Right.
So if it's someone's birthday, you would give them 30. If they were 30, you would give them 31 flowers, not 30,
Right.
because
Okay.
an even number of flowers would only be associated with a funeral. See what I mean?
30 flowers. I don't think anybody's ever bought me one flower, let alone 30.
Yeah, it's quite random. I don't know why that's a thing or where it comes from, but yeah,
Interesting.
that's something I didn't know. Um, okay, average life expectancy. This is question three for men in Russia. Is it
Okay.
88, 66, or 77?
I'm gonna go for 77.
You're not far off. It's actually 66. How young is that?
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
66.
Maybe it's all the vodka they drink.
Well, no, yeah, no, you joke, but actually, I was looking it up. That it's the diet. So vodka is a massive, and like the drinking out there is a big issue.
Yeah,
So yeah, 66. God.
that's awful. And that's sad. I don't like that fact. It's quite sad. But
Um. So
gosh, wow, that's crazy.
you
I
drink.
just thought life expectancy, like, I didn't, I suppose it will vary from country to country and sort of to do with like, you know, a lot of different factors and, economics as well, I suppose, as well, it plays into it. But that's young.
Really young.
Six, that's
I don't know
really
what it
young.
is in this country, but I'd go
I think
higher
it's
than I'd get 80,
70 odd,
79.
maybe. I think maybe males is like 70. I mean, I'm guessing actually, I don't know, but
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Question four. This is dog related and space related. So
Okay.
put the two together from that. Russia sent the first dog into space.
Hmm.
Quite mad. But what was the dog's name? Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I might know this.
Is it Yuri, Stakhanov, I probably pronounced that wrong. Or Laker.
Is it Yuri?
No, I thought it was Yuri.
Oh,
It's not. It's actually it's Yaker. Laker, sorry.
oh.
Yeah.
Isn't was it like a Shiba or something? Like a cute
What's a sheep?
little like
Oh, as
like
a fluffy dog.
yeah, like you know the dog memes. Have you ever seen them? Do you know what I'm referring to? No.
No, I don't
Like
know.
one of those dogs, like a little Shiba. They're just
Right.
cute little. I feel like that might be Russian. I might have just made that up, but they're cute. I feel like I could envisage one of those going into space anyway.
Do you
Maybe
think?
I've got Yuri from. Is there an astronaut called Yuri?
Yeah, yeah, potentially, potentially. I think that's where they. Yeah, I think that probably is it. Because I thought the first thing I was like, it's definitely Yuri, but it's not. It's Laker. Question 5 is the final one. How many billionaires live in Moscow? Okay, is it 260, 74, or 10?
Wow, that's quite a small number for a big country, like all of them. Um, what was it?
In
260.
Moscow, though, just the city.
Oh, just Moscow. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
So
So what was the numbers?
260, 74, or 10?
10.
No, it's actually 74.
Oh,
And
okay.
that equates to more billionaires in Moscow than anywhere in the entire any other city in the world. New York second, but yeah, Moscow with 74 is the most entire city and the
Maybe
biggest.
I need to move to Moscow and meet.
Yeah, that's where you want to go. You want to map.
Yeah.
That's the place.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'm just going to move to Moscow. I don't think I will, but um,
To be fair, I thought 260. I don't know. I thought that'd be a lot, but then
I wonder how many billionaires there are in the world. I mean, that's probably quite an easy fact to find the answer to, but I mean, crazy. I can't believe that people actually earn that much money. Like, it's insane.
I know,
But
I know. So you got on that quiz. I think you did okay. Well, actually, not great, Abby. Did you get a single one right?
I did. I got the first one right, I think.
Oh, you got T.
Yeah.
You got T. So
Yeah.
you got 1 out. You got 1 out of 5 there.